How's it going, everybody? Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are on the Jericho Cruise. This is the Wednesday edition of the show, which, believe it or not, we're taping on Wednesday, so this is a much more up-to-date show than the show that we put up yesterday. Still pre-taped, so don't bother calling or sending any text messages or anything like that.
Because we're out of communication with the world.
We are very much incommunicado here. We're on the high seas. It is a very, very windy day here on the ocean. And we're just sailing around.
We're shipping around.
We are sailing around for 2 days, and then we return on Friday. So if you're a subscriber, everything's going to be back to normal on Saturday. We're going to be reviewing the Worlds Collide show, and then on Sunday it's the Royal Rumble. So we'll get through all of that this weekend. Everything will be back to normal for the most part. And for those of you that are subscribers, we've also got a bunch of shows up from the boat. Dave and I did an Observer Radio on Tuesday, and then moments ago here in our cabin we had an interview with Darby Allin, which was very interesting here.
Yeah, it was a good interview.
Yeah, he talked about his time growing up, his projects, when he wants to retire from wrestling, whole 9 yards. So that's up for subscribers right now. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get this show started. We're going to tell you a little bit about the Dynamite tapings. We won't do any spoilers on this show. If you want spoilers for the Dynamite taping, you can grab them at WrestlingObserver.com. There's an article on the front page with all of the spoilers, and Dave and I did a full show last night recapping the entire show. So if you watch it on TV, literally you can listen to the recap afterwards, and we watched the exact same show because it was live to tape, and the only thing is we could not hear any of the commentary. So that's up right now for subscribers, and we're also going to talk about the Royal Rumble. We'll do previews for that show, and Worlds Collide, and yes, there is a UFC on Saturday night as well, so we'll talk about that. And we will kick all of this off after the break. Stick around. Wrestling Observer Live. We are back here on the show. Brian Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. We are joined by Dave Meltzer, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Last night was the Dynamite taping, as noted in the first segment. Not going to give spoilers here, so you can watch the show tonight. Or if you want spoilers, go to the front page, and Dave and I did a show last night. But we can say, without spoiling the show, that it was a lot of fun to watch.
It was a fun show live.
Professional wrestling on a cruise ship. For those of you that remember Club Lavella, I mean, that was kind of the idea behind the show. And
to a degree. Tony Khan was a big fan of the Club Lavella shows, as we were.
As I was as well, yes.
Yeah. And, yeah, there were some similarities there, other than we had, excuse me.
Oh, boy, here we go. So Dave started taking antibiotics, and all he told me today was, I haven't coughed at all today.
I know.
And what did I say? I said, we have not done a show yet.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we start the show, and here he goes.
Yeah.
But yes, it was like Club Lavella, and it was a great atmosphere, and I was watching from above, and the camera was below us, so I got to watch a little bit of it on the screen. It looks just like Club Lavella. Mm-hmm. It's a very cool look. And I guess the question...
Except for the boats.
Well, I mean, the boats were a cool look. They just distracted all the fans.
Well, the second boat. The boat behind us did, but it was before the show, so that wasn't really a problem.
Yes.
But when the second boat came in the right before the Moxley and Pac match, that did distract the fans, seeing a new boat pull in.
Yeah, they did not like seeing that new boat.
And it was huge.
It was. Hey, listen, let me tell you something about this cruise ship, everybody. When I got on this boat, I've never been on a cruise, but this is like it's a 13-story boat because there's 13 floors.
Isn't it 14?
There might be 14, but the point is like it's gigantic.
There's 14.
I'm pretty sure that this boat is bigger than the whole downtown Bothell area. I'm positive it is.
There's certainly more restaurants.
So we end up docking in the Bahamas, and there's 3 or 4 other boats that are docked right there. And the first thing I notice is every other boat is even bigger than this boat.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is impossible.
That Disney boat was gigantic.
Yeah, so we're like a 14-story boat, and on each side of us there was like an 18-story boat. So if you were on those boats and you went all the way up to the very top of the boat, you could look down and see the wrestling on our boat.
Yeah.
And so there were like a whole bunch of people that, I don't know if how many of them know about pro wrestling or know what AEW is, but they're on these boats looking down going, what's going on over there? There's like a boxing match or something happened on these boats.
It didn't look like a boxing match.
It looked like something, but...
No, I think there were people on the boat behind the hard camera, so they would not be visible when you watch the show. But, it wasn't a lot of them, but they were there for a long time. Like, you could see that they were like, we really lucked into this. We could see these. I mean, I don't know if they knew. I'm sure they didn't know that it was a TV taping, but it was kind of like there's a wrestling ring and there's these wrestling matches going on.
And there are these fans that are yelling at us from the boat, like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But yes, it was very cool. And I guess the big news afterwards was they did announce that they are going to do the Dynamite show from the Jericho Cruise next year, and it will be live.
What a risk.
And I guess...
There's a lot of risks in that one, because what if it rains?
Well, here's the thing. Well, the rain is obviously going to be a deal, but the reality is, like, if they're planning to go live... They could get a tarp.
They can get a tarp, yeah, that's true.
I was wondering how they were going to go live, but then it was pointed out to me that they were docked in the Bahamas.
Right.
They were basically on land. And so, they can get the production truck or they can get a dish or whatever. I mean... We're not going to be on the open seas doing the show.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the Bahamas. So, anyway, they figure that they're going to be able to go live, and the show last night was largely live to tape. They took some breaks for commercials, and I think some of the breaks actually were a little bit long, and so that's why the show went a little bit over. But, I mean, if you can go live to tape, and there were no disasters last night, there was literally one glitch that I saw, which was they started to play Pac's... They put Pac's video up and then played Moxley's music, and so they just started over again. That was literally the only botch trying to go live, so, they're obviously thinking about it. I'm sure they're going to be nervous until it's over a year from now, but I think that it'll probably be able to be pulled off.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be pulled off.
It'll have to be pulled off one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the other question, which I guess we're going to find out tomorrow, is the rating.
Yeah.
And... the idea is it going to take a hit because it's taped? And, they're well aware of NXT and how they did that two taped weeks.
And they got hurt.
And died.
Yeah, they got hurt both weeks.
And so I was arguing this last night because I couldn't even remember. The second NXT week was all awards. And some
awards, and
the best of.
And the best matches of the year.
Okay. So the week before was in studio, and there were matches from Full Sail and SmackDown, right?
There were matches from... Yeah, right.
Two different locations.
Right.
So it was very clearly a taped show.
Yes.
And it was also on a holiday.
Well, yeah, it's Christmas and New Year's Day.
Yeah. So I think that because... I mean, the show is taped.
Okay, but here's the thing. The Christmas show, because there was no AEW show, the show didn't do badly. That show did well. Yeah,
but then they died since the two tapes.
The New Year show did not do well.
Yes.
And then the week after did not, and since then has not done well. But, there's one, as we've seen with this Wednesday thing, somebody gets momentum, and then you got to do something to turn it around. And right now, AEW is the one with the momentum.
I just feel that because the show is going to look live, I think it's going to do the usual 850, 900. That's my prediction. I mean, the Raw shows from the UK that look live, even though they're taped, they always do just fine.
Yes.
They do the same or better.
They do the same or better.
Yes.
But this is a different audience. The Raw audience is a more casual audience, and a lot of them don't even know that it's taped, whereas I would believe that when it comes to the AEW audience, but probably 60% is going to know, or 50% is going to know it's taped, as opposed to maybe like 20%. So, but I mean, put it this way. When Bellator does a show, live or taped, I mean, believe me, I've studied it. It makes no difference, even if it's, taped the day before.
Yeah.
And the results are out and everything like that. It makes no difference. But the wrestling audience is different because Bellator, it's just a different audience. So, there's the risk and all that, but there's also the positive of, there's a lot of storylines going on in the show and everything like that. And if you're following everything,
it is not a throwaway show. I mean,
no, not at all.
We won't give any spoilers, but it is a very newsworthy show. And I mean, it's not even a spoiler because they announced a match, but the main event is for the number one contendership. So if you watch the show, you will find out who is next in line to face Chris Jericho.
Right.
So there's definitely things going on the show. So that's that. And then later on tonight, there's 2 wrestling shows, which will not be taped. And then, I guess, 2 wrestling shows on Thursday as well. So
yeah. So, and one of the matches tonight's Kenny Omega and Riho against Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford, which is kind of a tryout match in a lot of ways, because Kenny really wants this mixed tag thing going. And so we'll see. We'll see how the people react.
This will be the first ever intergender match.
No, mixed tag.
On AEW television.
They don't want to do intergender, but it's mixed tag. But
that's basically intergender. I mean, the men may not face the women, but there's men and women in the match together.
True. But Kenny says working boots on this whole week anyway. I mean, he's so... and then, like, for Riho, it'll be her first match. I think it's Riho's first match of the weekend. And Penelope Ford, I know it's her first match of the weekend. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's a big match for Penelope Ford, honestly. Because she's getting to work with Riho. She hasn't had a chance to do anything like that up to this point.
Okay, so apparently the storyline from I don't think it's actually from Being the Elite, but it's a Being Elite type skit. I guess Kenny Omega and the Bucks are in the dressing room, and Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford come in, and they're running down Riho, and I guess Kip Sabian says, "Let's do this match because we're in international waters. All rules are off." So that's the storyline for
this, and they actually are international waters.
This is international waters. That's right. So
boy, and I mean, this is. And I talked to Penelope Ford last night, and I mean the idea, because they were in the bowling.
Well, actually, hold this thought. We'll talk about this when we come back from the break. Stick around, everybody. Back with more Wrestling Observer Live. Back in the show, Brian Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Dave Meltzer, also of WrestlingObserver.com, here from the Jericho Cruise, international waters, no laws. Therefore, there's an intergender match on AEW tonight. And Dave has a story that apparently involves Penelope Ford and this bowling alley, which screwed me in the bowling tournament.
So apparently Kip Sabian's team was worse than your team.
That's impossible, but
he told me, because I said, like, oh no, Brian's team was the worst, and he said no, we were the worst because they lost more than once. So
they can't be the worst then, because it's single elimination, so they had to have won one.
No, they did nothing but lose. They keep losing. So maybe like
what?
They changed teams and came back and lost again.
They changed teams?
Yeah, he said we had new partners the second time and lost again.
Well, that's weird.
So anyway, but the point of all this is I was explaining, because they bowled really terrible, okay? And I said, well, I know because you're on international waters and the whole thing, everything that you told me, right?
Yeah, the lanes suck and the boat's moving.
And he had no idea of any of this, in the sense of, like, he just thought that they were terrible bowlers.
What?
Yeah, he just thought, like,
I mean, they may be terrible bowlers, but we are in a boat as well.
Yeah, no, he said, well, that sounds like a really good excuse. And I go, no, it's real. And I go, Brian had, like, real bowlers on his team, and they were rolling gutter balls. And it's like, oh, now I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, it was, I mean...
Hold on.
The whole thing, I guess Dave's running to the door right here, but I'm gonna power through this thing. We'll find out who's here on this program.
Hi, sir.
Hello. Yes, thank you. That guy came by to tell us that he was going to clean our cabin. You got to hear it live on the air, which I guess is a little better than that day that we were... Remember we were hanging out by the Diaz brothers in Toronto? Their room was right next to ours.
Oh, yeah, I tell that story all the time.
That was a disaster.
Yeah, because it smelled like pot and they were up till 3 a.m.
Yes.
But the one good thing is that nobody complained about us talking late at night, which has happened in the past.
Oh, the hotel. All right, so that's tonight on the boat here. You guys, I guess, won't get to see it because they're not taping any of this stuff. And
no, but I didn't finish my
Penelope Ford.
So Penelope Ford, who does like a lot of acrobatic stuff, was just like, I got to do it like in a ring, like on a boat that's moving. So there was some concern about like flying moves and stuff. Because even like last night when Pac got to the top And the thing with last night is it was, even though we were like not moving in the boat, we were docked, but it was windy as hell.
Yes.
So Pac's on the top ropes, and it's like this giant gust of wind comes, and it's like he starts like sort of flailing a little bit. And if it was somebody less experienced or smaller, maybe because he's so thick, maybe they'd be blown off, like in a that probably won't happen, but you know what I mean. It's when you're doing like a lot of acrobatic stuff, and we're on high seas where even walking sometimes can be treacherous. But like you said, the first time that they did the matches, the first two shows, there were like no blown spots at all.
No, there were no blown spots, but also it was not as windy. And I mean, right now,
yeah, it's choppy.
This boat is moving, and just walking around like
the bowling would probably be horrendous now.
The bowling is impossible right now. Literally, the bowling is like you're bowling for fun. Mm-hmm. You're not bowling to win a game. Like if that's your goal, you need to go do something else. Go play blackjack or something.
Air hockey. I'm going to play air hockey tonight.
You're asking for it.
I'm playing air hockey tonight.
Huh?
I already got my ass kicked in air hockey the other night when we were looking for you, and you'd already lost and left.
Yes. All right, so a bunch of shows coming up. NWA Hard Times is Friday, and they've added a bunch of matches here. This is the full lineup for Hard Times. The main event is non-title. It is NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis versus Flip Gordon. This show on pay-per-view, by the way.
Yeah.
Which I think is coming too quickly. We just had a pay-per-view in December.
Yeah.
It seems very quick. NWA World's Champion Women Allison Kay against Thunder Rosa. We've got the Rock and Roll Express defending the tag team titles against the Wild Cards, James Storm and Eli Drake in a triple threat match. Aaron Stevens defending the NWA National title against Scott Steiner. And then we've got...
That, you know what? On paper, that match sounds really scary.
I mean...
I'm sure it will be entertaining in a comedic way, but the idea of those two doing a match just sounds scary.
Well, I don't think they're going to do a match. Well, they'll do a match, but I mean, Aaron Stevens, it's, a lot of it is comedy gimmick.
As I said, it's going to be pure comedy.
Yes. We've got the NWA TV title tournament, Ricky Starks versus Matt Cross, Tim Storm versus Ken Anderson, Zicky Dice versus Dan Maff, and Trevor Murdoch versus The Question Mark. I mean, I presume Ricky Starks is winning.
I would definitely say him or Trevor Murdoch or The Question Mark.
Yeah. So that's for the television
But Ricky
title.
Starks would be the best one to win, given what they're doing, yeah.
So that's the show on pay-per-view coming up on Friday. So Saturday, we've got a UFC, and Curtis Blades and Junior Dos Santos is the main event.
Yeah, I mean, it's a heavyweight fight, and with a thin heavyweight division, the winner's going to be up there, especially if it's Blades, because that'll be like a real big win, and he's never really been in the championship picture before. But the way Junior Dos Santos is pretty darn good at takedown defense, and that's really what Blades has going for him, is that he's a good wrestler. So standing, I don't see Blades. I don't see it. So I would certainly favor Junior stylistically in this one. Unless Junior got old. If Junior got old, then he'll lose, yeah.
And literally the only other real big fight on the show was Rafael Dos Anjos and Michael Chiesa.
That's an interesting fight for Chiesa. He's looked really good in his recent fights. I mean, you would think that Dos Anjos is like one step ahead of him, but Dos Anjos has kind of been less impressive of late. They're fighting at 170, which, for Chiesa at 170, we'll see. I mean, he should be a lot stronger than he's been. And he's got that death grip on the ground, but Dos Anjos is great jiu-jitsu, so it's an intriguing matchup. That's an interesting match.
Jordan Espinoza and Alex Perez at flyweight, Hannah Cypher's Angela Hill at strawweight, and Jamahal Hill versus Darko Stosic at light heavyweight. Mm-hmm. That's the main card.
What city?
This is in Raleigh, North Carolina.
It's the Raleigh show, right? Okay.
Yep.
So it's a show. The other show's the WWE show will actually be better that night, I think. Oh, for sure.
So Worlds Collide is at night, and not a great advance.
No. Just very disappointing advance.
I feel like if this show were in the UK, it would do better than this show in the US.
Agreed.
Because I feel
because
like
of the UK guys, and it would be more your local guys going against stars as opposed to the unknown UK guys.
Well, that's the key. Like, I feel like if you're in the UK, you're watching the UK show and also the American NXT.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of American fans are only watching the American NXT and far fewer are watching the UK show.
Agreed. Yes.
So it would be better to run the show in the UK, but they're running it here in Houston, Texas. And we've got Mia Yim, Kaylee Ray as the dark match. DIY versus Mustache Mountain.
But that match is going to be awesome.
That match should be incredible, actually.
Absolutely. Oh, that match is going to be incredible. Yeah. Especially because the one thing with the Triple H shows is that when they advertise a match like, sometimes in the old days of wrestling, you would advertise a match like this and we're going to go, oh man, it's like, Rey Mysterio against Juventud Guerrera, it's going to be awesome. And then it's like you go 3 minutes and two guys run in and they don't give a shit about like the hardcore
That
fans.
would be main roster.
What?
That would be main roster.
Yeah.
Like if they booked a Ricochet versus Humberto Carrillo match.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get a good match, but you're not going to get the match that you would get anywhere else in the world.
Yeah. But here you're going to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get you're going to get the time, especially with Gargano and Ciampa, who always have good matches on takeovers. And Tyler Bate, who always fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, this match should be just, it will be great. So, yeah, it'll be... But, like, this card on paper is a great card, but it's also a card of, there's not really strong storylines leading up to it. It's sort of like just... It's almost like... How do I say it? It's like they're doing everything that they mock people for doing, in the sense, oh, you're promoting a card to do 4-star matches, but you have no storylines and there's no reason for these matches. I mean, that Finn Balor and Dragunov match, it's like, when I heard that, it's like, the first time I heard it, it's like, oh man, this match is going to be great. And then it's like, okay, but like to the average person, they don't even know who Ilya Dragunov is.
Well, the whole angle to set it up is they just had a segment where Finn Balor is watching an Ilya Dragunov match on his iPhone, and he decides, this guy would be great for Worlds Collide.
Yeah.
Like, that's the angle?
That's the angle.
If they did something like that on AEW, people would just be saying, there's no storylines.
Well, there wouldn't be. No, this is, in a sense, this is like, and AEW does have storylines, but in a sense, this is the show of every criticism of AEW, aside from, the one about the women. But it's all the criticisms of AEW that are pretty unfounded, but actually are true for this show. Yet, those people will not be criticizing this show. But I don't think a lot of people are going to be watching the show either. I mean, compared to a TakeOver, because I have not heard... It just doesn't feel like there's any buzz for this show at all. And obviously, the ticket sales tell you that, too.
Angel Garza or Angel Garza versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, Jordan Devlin, Travis Banks.
So, like again, here,
four-way.
Here, like, people saw... I don't think Travis Banks has been on enough TV that people know him, and Jordan Devlin has certainly not, even though he's awesome. And, Scott and Angel Garza, like, again, this is probably going to be a hell of a match.
And the top matches are just the Rhea Ripley-Toni Storm match. That's for the NXT Women's title. They set it up on television literally with the storyline that one day Toni Storm beat Rhea Ripley.
Twice.
She's
beaten her twice.
So that's going to be the storyline there. And then when we come back from the break, we'll talk about...
and also Imperium and...
we'll talk about that when we come back from the break. So stick around, everybody. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live. We are back in the show. Brian Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Dave Meltzer, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Doing the show here from a cruise ship, Jericho Cruise, out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I don't even know where we are.
We might be in the Gulf of Mexico for all I know.
I don't think so. Going the other way. But anyway, the main event of the Worlds Collide show here on Saturday Night Imperium, Walter, Fabian Eichner, Marcel Bartel, Alexander Wolf, against Undisputed Era, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Roderick Strong. 8-man tag team match.
The match will be great.
It should be incredible.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a great show. It's just like, but it's not a lot of appeal and not a lot of storylines to it.
So that's the main event there, and those are the 5 matches, which, I mean, we just got done talking about that WWE UK show where they want 5 matches, They want 2.5 hours. That means 2 30-minute matches. But even if the matches don't necessarily need to be 30 minutes.
Yeah, but this doesn't have Walter against Joe Coffey. These matches can go 30 minutes. Like when I look at this stuff, Finn Balor and Dragunov could, but I'm sure it won't because that would be it's just not strong enough to go that long. But like the Mustache Mountain tag match with Gargano and Ciampa, if they went 25 minutes, that would be like perfect time, I think. And with the 8-man tag, I don't know if I would go 25 minutes, but you can do it. There's enough good people in there to pull that off.
So then Sunday, we've got the Royal Rumble, and as of this moment, we have 22 men, 4 women, and then 8 matches on the show. So
they've only announced 4 women, and we're a couple days away?
Well, I presume that on NXT tonight, they'll announce a bunch of women.
Okay.
And then on SmackDown, they'll announce a bunch of women. Why we've only got, and really of the 4 women, only 2 women have been announced for Raw. So we're talking all of these Raw shows, including the Go Home show. They only announced 2 women for a 30-woman Royal Rumble.
It's Charlotte Flair and...
Charlotte and Sarah Logan.
And Sarah Logan means nothing.
And Sarah Logan, they didn't even announce on Raw. She announced that on her Twitter.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the lineup. For the men's Royal Rumble, we have Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, AJ Styles, Eric Rowan, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, Elias, Corbin, Ziggler, Otis, Tucker, Rusev, Lashley, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Braun Strowman, Shinsuke Nakamura, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe. Lesnar is number 1. The storyline is he enters number 1, he's going to beat everybody and win, which I guess means he'd be able to choose his own opponent for WrestleMania. And I guess the 2 questions are, A, who eliminates Lesnar?
Mm-hmm. And whoever eliminates him is probably the one who's going to face him at WrestleMania.
Well, actually, that's 3 questions. So, question 1 is who eliminates him. Question number 2 is he eliminated early for the big shock, or is he eliminated at the end?
I think you got to save him for the end, the way this Rumble's been built up.
Well, then that would mean that whoever eliminates
that also means
him,
that Brock's got to stay in there for an hour. Or close to an hour.
Yeah. But also, here's the other question. So, let's say that I'll just throw out whoever. AJ Styles.
Drew McIntyre.
It's not going to be AJ.
Drew McIntyre.
Whoever.
It probably won't be him either, but he's a better shot
than
than
whoever.
AJ.
Let's just say Drew.
Okay.
So, if Drew McIntyre throws out Brock Lesnar, that means it's probably going to be Drew and Brock at WrestleMania.
Probably.
So, if that's the case, someone then has to throw out the guy who threw out Brock. Someone has to eliminate Drew.
Unless he goes all the way.
But why would he go all the way? Because you're already getting the Brock Lesnar match, right?
What if they're the last 2?
I mean, you could do that if you're the last 2, but then that's kind of a waste of the Royal Rumble. Because the guy threw out the champion. I mean, that's your championship match. Then you should have another winner from the other brand.
Or from the other brand. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I guess you could have...
But then you could still do that, just have, theoretically, Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar, but you still have got Elimination Chamber to choose the other contender.
Yeah, you could do that as well. Or you have, the old Brock gets eliminated, comes back, kills everyone, and the guy gets thrown out there, or SmackDown guy's on the ground, and you think the Drew McIntyre won, someone tosses him. There's 1,000 things you could do, but that's...
But all the ones that you suggested have been overdone.
Dude, there's been 35 Royal Rumbles or something like that. Yeah. I mean, you ain't getting a new finish.
I hope. Well, yeah, but I have seen too many battle royals where you have that diversion guy where you think everyone's eliminated, and they just did it with the women's match the other day.
Yeah.
It's like you don't do it in the build-up and then do the same finish in the thing, even though I know, between the battle royal finishes that are overdone and the 3-way finishes where everybody does the exact same finish over and over again, I think it's time for a little moratorium on those 2 finishes.
So the women, Charlotte, Alexa, Nikki, Sarah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's going to be quite a Royal Rumble at this point.
Well, there's going to be every single woman on both rosters plus a ton of NXT women are going to be in it because, I mean, when you get 30, I mean, it's pretty much every woman that gets TV time, it will get you to 30. And, every woman that gets TV time in NXT, so, I mean, in theory, we should have Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley and, everyone from down there, really, Shayna Baszler, who I actually think Shayna Baszler should be one of the favorites to win the whole thing. Charlotte Flair's always a favorite, just because she's Charlotte Flair. I'm trying to think who else. Becky Lynch is probably not going to be in it since she's a champion. And there's other, choices, but those two to me those are the ones that to me sort of stand out as the logical favorites.
So the Universal title, it is The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan in a strap match.
Yeah.
So storyline's goofy. Bryan's explanation is The Fiend keeps going into a hole, so if he puts a strap on him, he can't go down in his hole again.
He can, though. Then he just pulls Daniel Bryan, and then Daniel Bryan's going to come up with no more hair.
Yes, this is very wacky.
But
and hey, it's a strap match, so Bryan could lose without doing a clean job.
Or Bray.
Why are you going to take the title off Bray now?
No, they won't.
It doesn't even make sense.
Don't you think that it's going to be Roman Reigns and Bray? Just because they've kept apart, they've never touched that match, and now we're going to WrestleMania, and Roman Reigns is clearly the number one guy on the brand, so it just feels like they've avoided that match for so long that it almost has to be the match.
That's just I don't mind the match.
I do.
But we've seen Roman Reigns in the WrestleMania title picture 5,000 times.
But he's always going to be, because that's what you do with the number one. The number one guy's always going to be on top at Mania, and should be.
So then we've got... Well, speaking of Roman Reigns, King Corbin, Falls Count Anywhere.
See, so the thing that I worry about is that frickin' Corbin wins this match and then Roman wins the Battle Royal, because that's how Vince thinks.
Yes, but you know what? So I'm all stuck up on this stupid dog food stip. So if Roman Reigns loses Falls Count Anywhere because 8,000 people run in,
right? Then
he wins the Rumble.
Yes.
Corbin. They could still do the deal again where this time Corbin gets to choose the stip. And his stip is loser eats dog food. So Roman gets his win back, and he humiliates Corbin, and it's something to do in the meantime between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So, they could still do all of these things.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't do the stipulation here for
Or
this
they
match.
could do a thing where Roman Reigns and Corbin wrestle for the title shot, because the idea is that, you may have won the Royal Rumble, but I beat you.
Yeah.
So I deserve a title shot, and then that's a main event for Saudi or wherever. They have
2 shows between Rumble and Mania.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the Saudi show, God knows what they don't seem to have anything like. It's not like last year where the last Saudi show where they had all these outsiders and things like that were all there and ready.
We have Becky Lynch versus Asuka for the Raw Women's title, which I presume Becky just wins because anything else would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Shorty
G. But then but Becky defends against the winner of the Rumble?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That
makes
sense.
That's
what the Rumble's supposed to be about.
Yeah, but it could be Bayley. But it's like Bayley and Lacey Evans have their own thing going, which is going to be more than a one show program, I would think. Yeah,
they're facing off for the SmackDown Women's title. And we have Shorty G versus Sheamus, which sucks to be Shorty G. This is Sheamus' big return match, so I'm sure he wins. And then Andrade and Humberto Carrillo for the U.S. title.
So they're the ones that are going to have the spotlight, is in the sense of, if their match gets over big, and stylistically, they should have a very good match. If their match gets over big, Vince will be real high on them because, they're young guys and good looking and all that. But if the people are flat for that match, you never know how Vince is going to react. Well, there's 2 problems with this theory. Yes. Number one is, if you look at the matches on this show, there's only 2 options for that pre-show. I guess you could do anything, but Shorty G, Sheamus, and Andrade, Humberto Carrillo. Shorty G, Sheamus is on the pre-show. And they're going to do a 2-hour pre-show, so there's going to be more than one match. Yeah, but they may add matches to that. There's a bunch of matches they could add, to the pre-show. Yeah. I'm just afraid the match is going to be on the pre-show and nobody's going to care. It is possible, but I think that there may be a fight over that one just because, it's Humberto Carrillo's return and all that. There is more of a storyline behind it, but they've done storyline matches that they've advertised hard. Wasn't one of the early Rusev Lashley matches a pre-show match or something crazy? No, that was, or a Daniel Bryan match. There was some match. It was why is this on the pre-show? I think it was Daniel Bryan. There's no, all the time there's matches like that. You would say that wasn't the when they had the Survivor Series and they had all the champions face each other, the tag team title match was on the pre-show?
Well, the tag team title match has been on the pre-show a lot.
Yeah.
That one's right.
But when you have the two tag team champions against each other...
Yeah.
If they did that, I don't know. It all runs together to me sometimes.
So that's the match. The match is for the show, and I mean, as far as like WrestleMania, this is one of those. I mean, I have no idea what's going on at WrestleMania, and we're getting close.
I have a few ideas, but like as far as like I think it might be Wyatt and Roman, but no one's told me that. I'm just thinking just based on the fact that whatever. I kind of know a few others, but not really for sure.
What about Tyson Fury and Brock?
Is this
happening?
I was told that's a no.
That's a no? Okay.
I was told that one specifically. And, Tyson Fury may get beat up by Deontay Wilder, too. Although, he may. Deontay Wilder hits so hard. I mean, if it goes to a decision, I would certainly favor Tyson Fury. But, you're in a 12-round boxing match with one of the hardest hitters that I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. And, you can't guarantee that he'll be ready. But I know there's definitely an idea. There's definitely something in the sense that Tyson Fury wants to do it. They want Tyson Fury, and there's a match. What about Edge? Edge is a big surprise, or Cena's a big surprise.
Could do Edge. He's in great shape. He posted something on his Instagram. He's shredded. Talked about how, I guess he looked at a shot of himself or something and was just disgusted and wanted to be in great shape for his children as he got older. And next thing you know, he's shredded.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
For your children? Do you think your children care?
Well, I don't think it was so much that his children needed to see their dad with an 8-pack, but I think it was more like, I want to be healthy for my children.
That doesn't necessarily make you healthy.
Well, I mean,
that's for your ego.
If you're fat and out of shape and all of a sudden you have an 8-pack, I guarantee you're probably healthier.
You're probably healthier, but you're not necessarily like all buffed and everything like that. Do you think that I don't know. Do you think that your kids, I'm not going to use my kids, do you think that your kids care? I mean, no.
One of my kids is 4 months.
Well, I know. So that's
She doesn't care about me at all. my boobs do not produce milk. So I'm low on the priority list here in this house. All right, everybody. Okay. We're going to head to a break here. Back in a moment with more Wrestling Observer Live. Back here for the final segment of the show. Brian Alvarez here. Dave Meltzer.
Do you remember the story about Nathan Jones and the boobs that produce milk?
Yes. Okay. Oh, my God. Oh, my Lord. Now, if that happened, maybe my 4-month-old would care about my physique. But listen, if you're on the boat and somehow you're able to hear this podcast and or show, later on today, myself and Dave, actually head-to-head with this show, in fact, so you missed it. We're going to be
tomorrow.
We'll be doing a live podcast here from the Jericho Cruise, a Q&A.
Friday at 3 and Thursday at 3.
No, Wednesday and Thursday at 3. Friday at 3, we're going to be in an airplane heading back home.
All right. I'm a day off because I kept thinking last night was Wednesday.
Yes, Wednesday and Thursday at 3 o'clock here on the boat, we'll be doing a live podcast. I've been told that we'll get the audio, so if you're a subscriber at WrestlingObserver.com, we'll try and get that up on the front page as well. And as noted, this is the 5th show we've done here from the cruise if it goes up, so we'll be here a couple more days doing Observer Live and other shows. So you can check that out at WrestlingObserver.com. Make sure you check out Dynamite tonight, NXT. Tomorrow, we'll talk, I guess, thoughts on NXT, or thoughts on AEW since we'll have seen it. But we will not be able to watch NXT here on this boat or any other wrestling. Literally, the only thing we can watch is what's live here on this boat. But we can't talk about the 2 shows tonight here on the boat, which will not be taped. So we'll give you results from those, tell you everybody looked, and same thing on Thursday. So a lot of stuff coming up. And once again, check out WrestlingObserver.com. Observer will be obviously very delayed, as in it'll be out next week.
Next Thursday probably, yeah.
Yep, but we will be back this weekend to cover all of the shows we talked about today. UFC Worlds Collide, probably not the NWA show because we won't be home. And obviously the Royal Rumble on Sunday. So a lot of coverage there. And that's it. Thanks, Dave, everybody in the studio, callers, listeners, whole 9 yards. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.